you found it in you to take like 30 seconds out of your day to write something hateful, and you said send.
And you said send on
what
your
a great day.
on your public profile with your first and last name, you idiot.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Yep to My App. I'm Erica Starr, and today I'm here with
Andrew Muscarella.
And today we're talking body dysmorphia and just getting real about the things that, people don't like talking about. Before we get to that, I just want to bring up like the first time that I even had the idea of having you on,
right,
which was 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, because the feast is coming up again.
Right.
Like right after the 4th of July. And I had seen you at the feast, and I was with one of my old friends, and I looked at you and I squinted because I don't know if you get this often, but you look like
Oh, is it Ben Platt? No. Oh, is it Ben Platt? Yo, no, yeah, I get that often.
It's fucking insane. Like, I Googled it again because I was like, there's no way that they look that similar, but it's actually wild.
I'm dead.
Depending on, what rate his beard is at.
Right.
But I was like, no. I was like, that's him. And I had just started recording my podcast, but nothing had been posted yet. And I was just like, fuck, like, I want to ask if he wants to be on, but I have nothing to show for it. I was like, I have absolutely nothing. I was like, he's going to look at me like, what the fuck is this? So the page had 5 followers. I had nothing. At that moment, I was like, all right, give me some time. I was like, we're going to cross paths again. I have no idea how, because that's just my little petition to the universe.
Right.
And now we're here.
And you're here. And I'm a big proponent on slide into the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't know something's going to happen for you unless you try.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's why I said in the DM, I was like, you missed 100% of the shots you don't take.
I didn't see it for like a week, but then I went in there and I was like, yeah, I'll come on the podcast. You can't shut me up.
And I cried in the gym.
And that often is happening for me. So it's okay.
And that's what this episode's all about.
Right.
Crying at the gym.
What about what a light episode for people, We're really going to take you there, but
all right, so let's bring it all the way back to high school.
Right.
Paint me a picture of high school Andrew.
Okay. High school Andrew, I was like Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, I'd say. Like, I was getting 100 on everything. I was really hard on myself, and I was a big boy, probably coming in about like 260 pounds. I was 5'8", but I didn't let that stop me. Like, I was in every single sport imaginable. And I think it kind of like my weight at the time, and also being closeted and being gay, was like my driving force of trying to prove people wrong. So like I'd be on the swim team, and you would take a look at me and you'd be like, oh, there's no way that this guy is going to like beat me. Mm-hmm. And then I'd beat their ass. And so I was always proving people wrong. I did not let my size define me. I did not let people like bullying me for being fat or being gay define me. But I kind of like channeled that in trying to be the smartest, trying to be the best athlete, trying to be the best, the goodest child,
Yeah.
So that was me. I was really insufferable though, I fear. Like, I look back and I talk to friends from high school now, and I'm like, how did you stick around?
Yeah.
Because I would have smacked me in the face now. But it's a different lifetime.
It's interesting you say that, because I was the same way in high school.
Yeah.
I was salutatorian, so imagine.
Okay, good for you.
Yeah, I was very like, freaking out if anything was below 100. I was just like, I was doing extra credit in classes I didn't even need it. And I think it's interesting because I also, have my own versions of body dysmorphia that I deal with. And I feel like it has nothing to do with like the weight that you started out at, and more to do with just like what your brain is wired to do.
100%.
Because people in school used to always ask me like, why do you want to get good grades? Like, do your parents beat you? And I'm like, no, actually. I was like, I just view grades like a video game. I'm like, that was my high score. And if I got 100 on the last test, I'm going to get 100 again and then do extra credit. It's going to be 102. And like, that was just how I dealt with things. So I could only imagine like how that transferred over into the gym. And,
100%.
Especially when you have like weight as your grade,
And that exactly is what it is. I think that like, it's what quantified my worth. And I was like, okay, for people, like, you can no longer comment about something that I see as a flaw, which would be my weight. You can now say, oh, he got 100, he's smart, right? Like, he's not fat, he's smart.
Yeah.
So like, that was my way to deflect people. But yeah, I was just a big boy. I loved to eat. I'm from an Italian family. So it was just food is love. And also food is comfort in moments where you are not feeling good about yourself, it's always been like the reach for the food thing. And I think that, especially when you're harboring like being in the closet, was the easiest coping mechanism for me at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And, just to give, context, and I know that people who listen to this pod often, like they know this part about me, but I was always super skinny in high school.
Right.
That was my issue. My issue was that I was, super slim, and it was never unhealthy, and I never wanted to be slimmer. It
Right.
was just, the constant comments from the boys that started getting to me, because like I knew that I grew up slim and didn't have an issue with it. Like up until high school age, like my parents never said anything about it. They never said, "Oh my God, you need a sandwich." Like never had any of those comments. Like, the Britney Spearses and the Christina Aguileras of the world were never like ideal bodies in my
Right.
household. That wasn't a thing. So I didn't have anyone to tell me like, "Oh, like you're small for, your body type or whatever." And then the boys in high school would say things, and they would be like, "Oh, like, when you get a body in college, you're going to be a 10. And I was like, aha. That's an interesting way to put that. And they would just keep on saying all these crazy comments that they thought were flattering.
Right.
They thought that it meant like, "Oh, you're on your way. Like good job." And I'm
Right.
like, that feels icky. And it wasn't a good time. But I didn't realize actually even until like later that was as bad as it was. Like it was just, part of me was like, "Oh, but like that means I have potential." I'm like, ew,
Right. Ew.
potential. I'm it now.
It's
like I
owning
am
it now.
wherever I am,
It's so interesting that people feel so comfortable commenting on others'
Yes.
bodies when they realize, like, that's my one takeaway from all of this, and we'll talk about it. But it's like people, regardless if somebody looks good to you, like it really isn't what that person needs to hear. There are so many other attributes that you can pick out. You can talk about clothing, you can talk about shirt, you can talk about like, oh, their hair, like different things that aren't so intimate.
Yep.
And the body is so intimate to each person that to comment on it when you don't know me like that, girl.
Yeah, and I think
Like, stop.
even with like bodies becoming a trend,
Right.
the Ozempic body and stuff, or like when fat asses are a thing, and then when
Right.
slim waists are a thing, it's just like, all
Cyclical.
right. Or even social media where someone is showing off their clothes and they're like, "Oh, look at me in this nice outfit," and there's that one comment that says, "You're so brave." I
Oh,
love.
jeez.
I was like, whoa.
Oh,
brave.
jeez.
I wasn't even trying to be an advocate for anything.
Exactly.
Like, now
Me
you
in
have
a
me thinking about
Speedo.
things I was never thinking
People
about.
be like, "Oh, I wish I could have the courage to wear a Speedo like you. Well, I wish
what
I
the
was as
fuck is that
confident
supposed
as
to
you."
mean?
I'm like, babe, what? Just throw it. We're good.
Give me some hard
Whatever.
eyes. Like that's it. Like just say like you look
Exactly.
great. Like there's no need for that.
I know.
Okay. So at 260 pounds,
Yeah.
what did you think life would look like if you lost the weight? Like what was the fantasy?
My fantasy was just to feel like, I guess it was desired, like, or like seen as even normal. Like I would say desired as I grew up earlier in life. In high school, I wasn't thinking about like people or dating or anything like that. I think I wanted to be seen as normal. I think what I would hear and was often reinforced, especially being in sports. Like there was one line, this is horrible, but like one line that sticks with me. And I was on the lacrosse team, which is so trade of me, but I was captain of the lacrosse team. And I was in 10th grade at this time, and we were doing sprints, and I was the last person in the sprints, and I was like by like a pretty large margin, but I was the goalie, whatever, it shouldn't have mattered. My coach he just screamed out and he was like, "Muscarella, you lazy sack of shit." And in front of everybody.
What?
As I'm like running
In high school?
In high school. Then I got brought in. This is so crazy. I got brought into the coach's office, and they told me that I wouldn't be able to play unless I lost 20 pounds, which is a crazy thing to hear at 16 years old, especially
Yeah.
when you feel othered in the first place from your peers. To hear it from adults hurts even more,
Yeah.
of course. So I think that like for me at that time, all I wished for was to like be normal and like for people to just kind of like lay off for a sec
Yeah.
and just see me for my actual talent, because I was really good at lacrosse, but it's unfortunate that the only thing that was ever reinforced was like I was just too big.
And the coach
Yeah.
didn't get in any kind of trouble for saying
No,
that? Like
no.
that wouldn't fly in New York. Somebody
No.
would be getting hit. Like the
know.
parents would be handling something.
I think
Like-
I also just it's so hard because even with bullying or anything in general, and I've talked to my parents about this since, and obviously with my podcast, like we've been able to work through these things, but a lot of the stuff I didn't even share with my parents because I was just embarrassed in general about like how I was even presenting myself, and I didn't want to open up the door to like that conversation with them about my body because it's again so
Yeah.
intimate to you. Even though my parents were always like, "We'll tell you if you're big. Like you're not big. Like you have big bones." I'm like, "Girl, I don't want to hear that again." Like, okay, yeah, big bones. I have big bones, but they were always very supportive. But yeah, I know it was a really messed up thing. So I wanted to be perceived as normal, and then I think my body, my weight has always ebbed and flowed. So like I was that big. I was 260 in high school, but then like I dropped and then I went back to that in college. And I think that when it was in college and my brain went there, it was to feel desired for once, and wanted. Yeah.
So when you finally lost the weight, did
Yeah.
you get that satisfaction of feeling desired at any point?
100%. I unfortunately went about the weight and losing weight in a pretty unhealthy way.
Okay.
COVID hit and I just came out before COVID and I was like, oh my God, 2020 is going to be my freaking year. And boy, were we all wrong. So
Yeah.
I kind of channeled it into losing weight. But what I did was I went on a cleanse for two months and I was really just only having like smoothies and I was working out about 3 times a day. And like I was just not really eating. I was probably coming in at about 500 calories consumed and I was working out 3 times a day. So I lost so much weight so quick. And it is unfortunate because I was validated and I was getting attention and I was on like gay dating apps and all of those things. And for the first time, men were seeing me as desirable. And I kind of just leaned in. And you can get lost in that for a sec, like, especially when you're deprived of validation and attention for so long. And then it just happens out of nowhere. It's kind of imposter syndrome too. Cause I was like, oh, now you want me? Like, wait, what? Like, this is so crazy. But that is the gay experience, I would say. For a lot of us, it's, gay is its body currency sometimes. So yeah, that's what I felt.
Can you get into that? Because I've never understood that. I've had like a lot of gay guests come onto the pod
Yeah.
and they talk a lot about how like, their physical appearance means so much. And I feel like, it does to straight people too, obviously, like with all the things that we see in social media and just like celebrities and people that we idolize. But it just feels like it's just so much more present within the community. And I was just wondering what that's like. How do you deal with that? And just like, how do you handle that kind of pressure?
I think where it really, because I've had to think about this for a really long time to understand and get to a healthy place when it came to fitness and my body. And I think gays tend to channel a lot of their like, we're working through a lot of repression, I would say, because when you grow up, especially depends on different areas of the country or the world. If you grow up in a more conservative area, obviously those people tend to stay sometimes closeted for longer. It's not always the case, but that sometimes they do stay closeted for longer. So when you keep pushing and pushing things down, you aren't the peak version of yourself. So when you do come out, you feel like now you can be the best version of yourself. So you channel that sometimes into your body or your job or, your Instagram following. But a lot of the times the gays go towards body and it becomes like a 6-pack for 6-pack type environment.
Yeah.
Circuit parties get a bad reputation specifically for shirtless men that are just muscly and bodies. And that feels like if you're not that, you feel othered. I think that Fire Island had the same connotation or the same, people felt that way about like just fitness gays being there. Of course, it takes a lot of like working through it in your brain to get past that. But it is just like you want to be the peak male, I think, when you are a gay. But it's not every gay. I would just say for a lot of major cities, New York, Hell's Kitchen, Chelsea gets that reputation. WeHo gets that reputation in LA, you know, as opposed to, let's say, a Silver Lake or a Williamsburg.
Really? I think that's present in Williamsburg.
I mean, yeah, I think that like we're infiltrating everywhere. I'm not going to lie. So I think Williamsburg also has that. Again, fitness is going to be prevalent amongst the gays regardless. But it's about whether you use that as your way to not want to engage with other gays, because especially on the apps, it'll be like no fats, like people would literally straight up say like no fats, no femmes, no, like it's like muscle for muscle, like whatever. Like that's where they find desire, and it's through body currency.
Yeah, and this is another thing that I've wondered, like after all the conversations I've had with people about like body being that much of an importance within the community. Like I wonder if part of it too is just because of like the way that men think. Cause I feel like straight men, for the most part, they know that it's wrong to do that to a woman.
Right.
You know, just like, you know, tell her to work out a certain way. Like they'll say it's a preference. Okay, fine. But they're not going to make it that obvious and in your face. Like no one on a dating app is going to come to me and be like, can you change that? And then maybe we could talk, or actually like, I would talk to you more if you didn't look that way, or if you looked some other kind of way. And I wonder if it's just like a thing where, okay, well, if I can do this and I'm a man and you're also a man, you must also be able to, you know, obtain whatever body type that I've been able to obtain, because, you know, we got to be at the same level. Yep. And I find that like so interesting, because I feel like there's like the one time women are given grace with something.
Right,
you know?
right. You guys got off on this one.
Yeah. Within the community, it's more of like a tit for tat kind of thing. Well, I do all this for myself, and so what do you bring to the table?
Right, and I do think it is definitely more. I mean, there are definitely in the straight community too, for men and women. There are of course going to be fitness like men that want to be with the girl who's in her little Lululemons, like running on the treadmill. You know, and like there is like the desire, and I think for myself too, I want to be with somebody who is active. It doesn't mean that they have to have a particular body.
Yeah, you're also not gonna be a dick about it. Like,
no, I'm not gonna be like no fats. Like that's an insane statement, period, in general. So it's a wild experience.
Right. So once you lost the weight, would you say that like the confidence just came about, or was it something that you had to work through and, you know, like, the messages came in, the men started showing up and you're getting all this attention. Was that when the confidence came in, or was there something else that you had to work through before you can get to like, okay, I like myself?
I honestly think that my confidence went down. Like I was getting affirmed and I was getting attention, but it happened to be behind closed doors a lot of the times. Okay. And I think that was my experience. And I don't know if I can't speak to everybody's gay experience, but I can speak to a large portion where when you do come out and you feel like you've lost so much weight, whatever, you jump towards certain apps, and those apps will allow you to hook up with men and to feel validated in all of those things. So a lot of like my confidence was happening when just showing up and being like, hey, and then, you know, making out or doing whatever. So when I left those situations, I wouldn't say I was necessarily confident. I was just happier with how I looked. And I do think also validation from outsiders besides just men was nice to hear. Friends being like, oh my God, like you look so good. But I didn't like the comments that would be like, oh my God, like, look at you. Who knew you were so handsome? Like, who knew?
Like, that part's crazy. Yeah. Like you just uncovered something. You took off a mask. Yeah. Like,
I'm like, oh, I've always been here, baby.
Like, maybe I knew, you know?
Right, exactly. But it definitely took me a really long time to develop true confidence. And I wouldn't say I was confident until probably about 2 years ago. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got there.
Right. No, thank God. Thank God.
And I think that's something that people, they screw up so much when they think about people who have either, you know, gained whatever weight to reach their goal body, or lost however much weight to reach their goal body. Because even for me, I was 90 pounds when I graduated high school. And then I got stuck at like 120, 125 for like 2 to 3 years. And then I discovered creatine. I was like, oh, this is nice. And I hit the 130s, and now I'm officially 150. And like, this has been nice. Yeah. But once I got to a point where I was like, I'm really happy with how I look. Of course, there's always things that I'm like, my legs could be bigger, ass could be fatter, yada, yada, yada. I was getting somewhere. Fuck, this happens every time. And this has become like a theme in every episode. It's
like losing train of thought.
Yes. But the confidence, like you said, like you get a swipe up from one of your girlfriends and they're like, oh my God, like you look so good. Oh, thank you. The guys and the hard eyes. Cool. And those are all nice little dopamine hits throughout the day. But you're walking around with this new body. Like this is the part that no one talks about. You're like, you're functioning in this space where it's like you're getting looked at differently. Like the world is treating you differently. And you just don't know what to do with it. You're like, wow, like I am it now.
I'm the shit. But I also think that like that little voice in your head, like especially when it comes back to the body dysmorphia, it's like obviously therapy helps, but the voice in your head that's like people are looking at me, but then you're kind of like, wait, hold on, like why why is that person looking at me? Like it's kind of to the point from before, imposter syndrome, being like, oh no, that guy wouldn't like me for, I mean, no, never. But like, you don't recognize that like that person doesn't know the person before either, but you do. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's all about perception. It's how you perceive yourself. And, you know all of your own history. Right. No one else does. And at the same time, maybe no one's looking at you and you think everyone is.
Exactly.
That's the flip side of it, because you can't get too cocky either, because, they say like, you're a 10 here and you're a 5 elsewhere.
Right.
Like that can be the difference between 2 different boroughs or 2 different, streets in New York.
Literally.
You just gotta, it's a different type of confidence. And I'm always one to say like, New York is different. New York, like for everything will always be different. I feel like, being here, you have to be so confident in yourself that you just have to know who you are and not give a single fuck about anybody who passes by. Like, there was a point that even like a bus would pass, and in my mind, everyone on that bus is looking at me. Mm-hmm. When you're on a bus, you're not looking out the window, like picking people out and just staring at them. No, unless they look ridiculous.
Right.
So it's like, you just kind of have to check yourself. Like, yes, you look great, but also like you're not. See, I talk myself up too much. I don't want to say like you're not amazing. Like, of course I'm amazing.
No, of course you're amazing.
But you know what I mean.
Right.
You just gotta find like that healthy balance, and that's where the confidence is. Like you have to be confident enough to know that you're not everyone's cup of tea, but you're your own cup of tea.
Exactly.
And that's tough though.
You're your own cup of tea, but you gotta sip it. You gotta sip the tea.
Yeah.
All right.
So where were your influences on what was considered desirable? Because with all like the things telling you that maybe you're not enough, or that your weight isn't like the perfect weight, like where were you getting this information from?
It's hard because I think that like growing up, of course, you can like lean in towards like the age of social media and the age of like, it went from Instagram being let's post a picture of my water bottle to let's post me looking good. And I think that turn, especially when it came to high school, like seeing just like fitfluencers pop up or people even in school being shirtless, and then watching TV and seeing Zac Efron and being like, oh my God, like the day I have that body, it's over for you bitches. Like literally. But that's how I was feeling. I would watch TV, I would watch movies, and I would just want that body. And sometimes even now, like, and I think this is maybe similar to other people, but sometimes like I feel myself drawn to somebody, and I don't know if it's because I want to be with them or I want to beat them. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that is really largely, the body is really responsible for that. And then of course, when it came to just like sports in general, like I was an athlete. So like my influences were other athletes. And I just never looked or found somebody that I could identify with when it came to, the athletic world. Yeah. So yeah.
And I can say the same about even friendships. Like I have found myself gravitate towards people where I'm just like, like I like your lifestyle and I like how you do things. And like I don't know if the word's advocate, but I'm a big advocate for just like surrounding yourself with people who you want to be like, but without the jealousy. I feel like that's like the hard part that everyone just doesn't understand.
Right.
Like it's just, finding people who live the life you want to live, and then like slowly, integrating their habits into your life. Cause I feel like, I'm not the whole birds of a feather flock together. I have different friends for different reasons, different lifestyles, all that. But you have friends that you are intentionally, around because you're like, you know what? I admire you, and I want to be that way, and I just want to take little snippets from your life and apply them to my own. But I think that's always tough, like, you know, whether it be relationships or friendships, because that's like a really blurry line. The I want to be you versus like I like you as a person, because then you become that person. You're like, oh, well, I already have that now. Like, I don't need that anymore. And it's like, ugh, it's tough.
I know.
But I know I gave that up like in high school. High school and like early college was when I was officially like, all right, like it's mean. It's like, it's just gross when you think about it. And then I hear my friends have stories with people who go to therapy, talking to a therapist about like how badly they want to be that person.
I know. And it gets unhealthy.
It's so bad.
Yeah, that is something that definitely needs to be worked through immediately in therapy. And that's something I'm happy that I was able to work through as well. But yeah, it's still... Yeah, it's such an interesting concept. Yeah. It is.
So did you have anyone around you who like expressed concern when you were rapidly losing weight?
Yes, I definitely think that my parents were like, what's going on? And a few friends would definitely see me and be like, oh my God, Andrew, you look so skinny. But at the time, like, and I don't know how to explain this because it is really fucked up thinking, but like I would say when I was big or bigger in high school or whatever, it's like, I want someone to look at me and be like, you look so skinny. Like, you look almost so sick. Like, I actually, like, that is what I wanted because it was just so opposite from what was normal to me. So when I was hearing people being like, you look so skinny, that to me was the compliment. That to me was like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. Like, I know. And they're like, okay. You know, so like it was about how I processed that statement, even though I do think looking back on it, people definitely were concerned. I think they were more concerned about the fact that it happened so quick. Yeah. But then I was like, but I didn't have any real negative, like
intervention level.
No. Like I was like really motivated and I was just like, really energized. And I was so like, oh my God, like I'm running, I'm doing all these things. So it wasn't like I was like smoking weed or doing
missing
drugs
out on life,
or people were like, oh, this is something we need to check out. So I don't think people realized the magnitude of what was going on. But that was definitely something I wasn't really sharing.
Yeah. And this all goes back to just how much of it is a mindset because, you know, you have your own standards for what's considered skinny, for what's considered fat. And you know, the best way I can explain it is like, you know, I have a friend who's always cold. So we were, you know, I was home and she was outside and I asked her, oh, like, what's the weather like outside? And she was just like, oh, like, it's hot. And because she said it, I knew it had to have been really hot. So it's like, you know, when you're trying, in my case, trying to gain weight and somebody finally, who never says anything about your body, is like, oh, like, you know, you have some muscle now. My brain isn't saying like it's at the level that I want it. It's just that, oh, you finally noticed, which means that like I'm 2% closer to my goal because it hasn't been 100%, you know, finished, completed, none of that. Because I know my interpretation of what I think is fit, what's muscular, what's, you know, the goal body, and yours is very different. Right. And, you know, it's almost like you're downplaying everybody's compliment or downplaying people's, you know, concern 100%. Because you have your own versions of what that means to you. And that was something, you know, me as a friend who's had friends who've either rapidly gained weight or lost weight, I had to understand because like, you know, I am the concerned friend. I am the one that's going to tell you like, hey, like I'm worried. And I learned over time that they were liking that they were like, okay, like this is good. Like you're worried about me now. This means that I'm getting closer. And it's so sad because to be on the other side of it, like as the friend, like witnessing it, it's like, it's not cool. And you don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. And you don't know when you can speak up. And honestly, like, I think just a simple check-in, like you were saying, is sometimes all a friend needs to hear because everybody is on their own journey. Once it becomes like really problematic and like threatening, then of course there's intervention that needs to be taken. But like social media is so interesting. I hate to like even just, I'm going all over the place. No, you're good. But like I follow a few like mukbangers or like food creators or whatever. And I never see it as, I'm not seeing it as like, I want to see these people eat because I want to see them gain weight. Like that's not the way that I'm seeing it. But I'm also like, I understand there is a side that does want to see that. But then the comments, like to your point, friends are okay to check in, but like for people to comment on weight in general when it comes to social media is just beyond me. And like no one will know what a person is going through that day to comment your opinion on somebody else when you don't know them is just something I will never understand in my life.
I mean, even when you do know them, sometimes it's just unwarranted.
Right.
Because there are people who know exactly what's going on in your life and they will say the fucked up thing.
Right.
And it's like, oh, that was not right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I mean, anything on the internet when it, like, it's, I would say on the internet when it comes to comments to follow the same rule that I follow when it comes to even in person. If the person can't change it in 30 seconds, don't comment on it.
Exactly.
If it's something in their teeth, tell them, hey, you got something in your teeth, take it out, cool.
Sure.
But it's like, you know, you're going to mention my muffin top? What the fuck? You want me to jog a mile real quick?
Right.
Like, what do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do?
Like, these pants are a little too tight. Sorry, I got to get a new pair, but I can't do anything about it.
Or like the people being like, stop eating like that. Stop eating. Stop eating. I'm like, girl, like, they are the ones that are in control of their lives. Unfortunately, if you're not okay with their habits, it is going to be a swipe on from here type beat. And you can find your algorithm, but like, let's stop commenting on it.
Yeah, it's, I just,
like,
and then they want to do the whole, like, don't post about it if you don't expect, like, speculation and people commenting. But it's like, you found it in you to take like 30 seconds out of your day to write something hateful, and you said send.
And you said send on
what
your,
a great day.
Oh, on your public profile with your first and last name, you idiot. Like, I will come for you. Like, don't even get it twisted.
Yeah, they're ballsy. They're real ballsy on the internet. I mean, you already know what I've gone through today. They're real fucking ballsy.
Right.
Okay, so I have a question on here, but I'm pretty sure you already answered. But were you ever able to enjoy your progress losing weight? Like, was it always just like a happy time where you're just like, yeah, I'm doing the thing? Or was it like ebbs and flows where you're like, you know, the body dysmorphia kicked in the other way again and you were just like, I'm not as fit as I
think that
to.
like, again, it's been a journey. I would say I'm not really like struggling with this as much now. I think that I've been able to like really learn to love my body, and I found my community of people that like share similar interests as me. So I'm never feeling threatened or comparing myself to people with like a six pack, because that's not what I want. And I think that's something I needed to come to terms with. But at the time when I was losing weight, I don't think I knew what I wanted. And I would be losing all this weight rapidly. And of course, my eyes would go down to like my love handles. Or even when I lost so much weight, I was like, oh, now I'm focusing on the loose skin. Like it was never something that was like, oh my God, especially when I took my shirt off and I was at the beach, I wasn't like, oh, my body is so T, like this is so crazy. Meanwhile, people were like, oh my God, like what? And I look back at pictures now and I'm like, wait, that's what I looked like? Like, it's so insane. Like, I think about that even, like, I was looking at pictures recently of myself last year and I was like, oh my God, I didn't post that picture. I didn't post that picture. And not that I needed to post that picture for attention, but like, I didn't post that picture because it didn't pass my mental processes of being like, every box was checked off, of being like, oh, chest looking good, stomach looking good, legs looking good. Like, it was like one thing was off. But like, what am I? I'm like Frankenstein? I'm being sculpted by a doctor?
Yeah.
No, not yet. Oh, I mean, no, I'm not so good at twisted. But like, yeah, I'm not, this is just my body. So I've been able to learn to love it now. But at the time, yeah, of course, my brain would go to like my love handle or something.
And with body dysmorphia, it's so hard to become detached from your body.
Oh,
like
yeah.
your body is everything. You walk around and you are very aware of just everything that your body's doing, like how your hands are resting, how like, you know, like for me, like when I was in high school, I was always sucking in my stomach.
Right.
Now that I know how to brace my core, I'm always bracing my core, but that's just like a gym thing.
Right.
And you know, it's funny you said what you said, because sometimes I'll post like a year ago today photo of me at the gym. And so obviously I have like, you know, it's a day that I'm feeling good. So I have the picture for today and I'm going on my camera roll and I'm going back to the last year and I'm like, I look better in all these pictures than I do right now. Why did I think that I was, you know, that much skinnier or that my love handles are showing more? And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to post transformation anymore because I feel like I look like shit now. Like you can't win like when it comes to this stuff.
You literally can't win.
But it's insane, like, you know, looking back at the older versions of you and seeing like, damn, like I was hot and I hated myself that day. I hated how that shirt fit. Those pants were not it for me. Or like, you know, pictures of like you with other people and realizing, you know, people you compared yourself to all the time. It's like, we were the same weight, we were the same size, or, you know, like, and it's mind boggling seeing how much current you, the present you accepts past you.
Of course.
And it's, you know, it's like the inner child thing. Even if it is 3 years ago, you're still looking at a past version of you who hated themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds dramatic, but like it is what it is. Like there's so much value in the way that your body looks, at least to yourself, when you go through like these major changes with your body.
Right. It could, because again, this conversation could also seem like to some, I've had conversations or the comments have been like, girl, give it up. Like, give it up. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, okay. Like you suffer from this, like, sure. Like, give it up. And I think it's, again, what an insane thing to say to some, or what a crazy thing to say to somebody. Because you will never know what it's like to walk in that person's shoes, especially like if they've dealt with body things or whatever. And I think when it comes to the dysmorphia, it's always that little thing in the back of your head until it takes years and years and years for you to work through it in therapy to be able to get to a point where you're like, I am okay. It might not be 100%. There will be flare-ups, but like, we're going to just move on. But the fact that you can live your life, especially looking back on like my 20s, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I would beat myself up daily about what I would look like before I would leave, before like whatever, or pictures and editing or whatever, when that was like, that's my youth. I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, those were... And my prime has not happened yet, because it's a great thing that for gay men, I think that we only get hotter because we like are just trying to actively work on every aspect of our lives, and we take care of our faces, you know. And I think that's the difference between straight gays and straight. Sometimes it's like, do a face routine. Yeah. It's not gay to put a little moisturizer on because I'm not going to be looking like you when you're 45. But yeah, it's just when I look back and I think I wasted so many years of just negative self-talk. It might take 1 or 2 weeks, but positive affirmations or like mental, like affirmations in general are so important, especially when it comes to body. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, it's also interesting that you talked about like, you know, looking back at your 20s, how like it's your youth. And, you know, there are some people that they don't even have the pictures. They just avoid looking themselves in the mirror and on their phones and everything. Yeah. And, you know, I saw this somewhere and like, I stand by this wholeheartedly that like, you know, when you're 20, at the age, I could be wrong on the age, but like at 20, you're a fetus adult. You know, 21, you're a 1-year-old adult, 22 and so on. And it's just like, you know, this is your first time like living on your own, doing the thing with your own thoughts. No one's telling you what to do. And your 30s is when, you know, you're able to have the mindset that says like, wait, this was me in my 20s and I should have loved myself back then. And I didn't look the way that I thought I looked. And it makes it a lot easier when you get older to be like, okay, like even though I might have these thoughts right now, like I'm going to look back at this when I'm 40 and say like, I wish I looked like that. Or 100%. I wish I, you know, took those chances or did those things. So, you know, you start reframing your mindset and you start thinking like, you know what, fuck it. Like, and it's true. People give less and less fucks the older that they get. Like I think 100%. I forgot who said it. There was a celebrity who said that, but, it's just, it's so true. And I'm excited for that. Like people are so scared of aging and it's like, no, like you learn more and there's just so much more life, more living.
Yeah. I've learned so much. Again, I just turned 30 and I'm like, I was not scared of it at all. I feel like it was a clean slate. And to your point from before, like I learned so many things in my 20s and I still feel so young. I know my cultural touch points. Like I know how to keep up with the girls. I know how to keep up with the girls in college. Like I know what's going on. Yeah. But it is just like the body or the dating and the things that feel so heavy when you're 24, you recognize like they were just so surface level. And when you're able to like experience life and age and surround yourself with people who think like you, I cannot wait until I turn 40 because I think I'm going to be freaking John Locke. I'm going to be a philosopher. I'm obsessed with it. It's so good.
So to what you just said, we're getting to the dating part of this conversation. So how has body dysmorphia shown up in your dating life?
I think it's really hard when it comes to like being perceived. I think that's something that I needed to strip myself away from specifically, especially when it comes to dating apps. Dating apps, you seem to quantify people or qualify people based on what they look like, right? That's the only thing that you really can get from. Yeah, Hinge wants to throw the little prompt in there. You know, you can be funny, you can be whatever. If you put the voice note though, you better be saying something that means something to me because if not, like, I don't want to say it's cringe, but it's gonna be cringe.
Really? You think so?
Sometimes I'm like, because it'll be like the voice note, it'll be like, yeah, baby, so I'm gonna be. I'm like, you don't talk like that. Like, what are you doing? Why do you sound like that? Like, I hate to be that person, but I'm like, okay, that's what we chose. Or like, it'll be like, what is your scariest, or like, what is your funniest memory? And they're like, what is my funniest memory? My funniest memory is, I'm like, all right, we're trying to hit a word count.
Yeah.
Enough. But I do think that like that's how it showed up for me, was like trying to edit my pictures or trying to feel like I was curating this vibe. And then obviously when you enter a situation with somebody, like I didn't want to ever feel like I was catfishing them. And I never got to a point of like I would edit my pictures and it would look so severely different from me. It was always me, but like in my head being like, oh, let me just like make the jaw just a little bit, like it was like the most minuscule details that like it didn't need to be edited, but like I would enter the dating situations feeling like a catfisher, or when I would go to the bedroom with them, like I wouldn't want to take my shirt off. And I think that was a really hard part at the beginning of dating. And sometimes it does help when you get like you have such a good body, right? But then sometimes, are you willing to receive that?
Yeah.
Or you're like, stop. Like, no, you like, especially if it's coming from somebody who objectively has a better body than you.
Yeah.
You're like, you're lying to me. And they're like, I'm not lying to you. And you're like, okay. All right. You're all like,
If you say so.
Cool. Like freak. No, but
yeah. When I was dating, I had this weird issue that I dealt with. And this was after like I've, become a lot more like solid in the way that I felt about my body, and be like, oh, I like my muscles, and I like, obviously I worked for this, like, and let me enjoy it now. So I finally got to that point, and like I was on the dating apps and I was hanging out with guys, and end up in the bedroom, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And, it was always just like this thought in my head where I would be like, you wish I was slimmer. Or
Right.
like, you wish I was a Pilates girl. Or
Right.
you wish, and, because I know that, and I've learned this from people who come from out of town. They're like, this is normal, like in the South to look like this, like at those Texas gyms and stuff like that. And I'm like, and they're like, this isn't like normal for New York, like good shit or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, but when I was dating, I was dating guys who like didn't understand that kind of stuff, or maybe they weren't like super fit, they weren't like heavy at like gym rats or whatever you want to call it, and they just look at me like almost like fascinated. But I started feeling like, like I was in a museum behind a glass, and they were just like, wow, like your thighs do that. And I'm like, okay. I thought I was sexy.
Right.
Like, why are you like looking at me like I'm like a science experiment kind of thing? Like that was always weird. And like part of me tried to like give them grace and be like, well, they ain't never had nothing like this, Like that was the kind of vibe I was leading with. But afterwards I'd be like, what if they realize that they don't like this? Like, what if I become one of the things that they try out? Right. That is one of those like fantasies of like, oh, I want to try a muscular girl.
That's what I fear, especially with the gays. It's like, I never want to feel like a fetish for somebody. Although Selena Gomez's song is so good, right? Like, I'm like, she gets it. So maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't want to ever feel like you're chasing me. And I think that is, unfortunately, a little bit part of our community. It's like there are chubby chasers, or there are like bears, or like hairier men, whatever, like bear chasers or twink chasers. Like I never want to feel chased as like somebody's guilty pleasure. But
yeah, that
it's interesting.
I guess like so grossed out with all the things that we talk about here, because it's like there are people who truly think this way. There are people who believe these things, and it's like,
and
how
it's
do
like
you
read a
sleep
book.
at night?
Maybe read a book. Actually, be good for you.
Okay, so let's get into the healing part of this conversation, the nice, happy, ending. So what do you see when you look in the mirror now?
Again, every day is a journey, but I really am so happy with the way I look. I think I put in so much work for myself, for my body. Food will always be an integral part of my life, and I never want to lose sight of that. And I never want to be the person who's like, oh, like I'll know when I can't have something, but when I look at myself in the mirror, like I'm a big, strong man, and I might be small. That was another thing. We don't have to get into the conversation about being 5'8", because that's short. That is, well, I mean, not to gays it doesn't really matter, but still sometimes it does. And I think that like the height of it all, be like, oh damn, you're small. You're smaller than I thought. Like, especially with the podcast, people think I'm taller, but whatever. But I'm a strong man, and I worked for this, and I don't like flaunt it to ever make other people feel uncomfortable. If any time I'm like wearing a tank top or whatever, it's for me to celebrate myself. And yeah, I really love it. And I now, honestly, like I go out and I used to judge in gay spaces men taking their shirt off, but like I might not look like all of the other men that are around me, but I still deserve the comfort to be allowed to take my shirt off. So I take my shirt off and I flaunt it. I'm shaking these tits. I don't I don't care. So yeah, I am very, very happy.
I love that because, you know, I always get the comments where it's like, oh, you're always in a sports bra and Nike Pro shorts. And what about it?
And what about it?
Like, I look the way I look because I worked for it. Same thing that you said. It's just like, you know, people who don't work out, they don't understand, like, you don't want to be at the gym that whole time. Like, you're not having like a fun, like, don't get me wrong, there are days that's like straight dopamine hits that you're like, whoo, let's fucking go. But that's like, you know, twice a month maybe if you're lucky. But it's like, you know, you're doing it because, you know, you want the health, you want the lifestyle, you want to live longer. There's so many reasons, you know, and then there's like, you know, all the reasons we talked about is just like confidence and loving yourself and all that stuff. Like we have so many whys, and to not flaunt the results of it is like, and you know, everybody has their thing. Some people, they want to keep it, you know, modest. That's totally fine.
Right.
But for those of us who want to be as naked as possible whenever we can,
please
let us be.
Like, let me wear the Speedo on the beach, you know?
Yeah.
Like, F it. But I also think I've learned, like, growing up bigger, like, I call it FFK, former fat kid, but like, it really does make the most, like, personable person. You have a personality, you know how to have it, like, crack a joke, you're humorous. Like, you were, especially for me, like, I always wanted people to laugh with me and not at me. So that's why I kind of leaned into comedy and like being animated. So like, oh, Andrew, he is so funny. But like having those experiences and now looking the way I look now, like it really does build character. And for anybody out there that is, if they're larger or anything, like everybody is on their own journey. I will never judge somebody based on their body. If they want to talk about it, I will be there to talk about it to them. The door is always open. But I do think like if somebody doesn't want to go to the gym, don't go to the gym, but also just read up on the facts that you said. Like if you want to be healthy, you got to get 20 minutes of some sort of walking in a day, you know?
Yeah.
Like start small goals and do it for yourself, because what I've realized is are my friends who might be a little bit larger, or even with me at that time, like other people telling me I should lose weight was not the incentive for me to lose weight. It was actually de-incentivizing me and making me go further and deeper into a spiral and into my hole. But when I was able to decide I'm doing this for myself, then I found the motivation to be like, yeah, I'm showing up in the gym every single freaking day and working on myself. And yes, the validation is going to come and people are going to say those things about you, but someone calling me fat and saying that I should go to the gym is not the reason I'm going to go to the gym. It's on you to decide that.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
No, I have no notes on that one.
You don't have notes either.
So if ever you find yourself going down like some kind of negative rabbit hole, like at least, you know, the healed version of you at least, how do you stop yourself?
It is like you need to clock it immediately and then affirm yourself, right? Like I think that sometimes like the delusional affirmations are really important to be like, I am worthy, like I am fit, I am healthy, I am like, you need to look at the aspects that you can control, and then your brain will be able to like rewire itself. Because again, and a lot of the times it is based on the food. Like if I ate like absolute shit, I had the Taco Bell Supreme Luxe Cravings box and I had blah, 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 ice cream, whatever. If I just like had a night, food obviously affects your brain.
Yeah.
Right. So when you eat healthier, you think healthier. When you eat poorly, you're going to think poorly. So I think that I also need to check in with myself and be like, oh, you're spiraling because last night you got home from the club at 2:30 in the morning. morning and you had Taco Bell waiting for you, and now you look at yourself in the mirror and you think that you gained 10 pounds. Meanwhile, that's literally just you're being delusional.
Yeah.
So it's like smacking yourself out of it.
Yeah. I feel like the start is people even believing that stuff is true. Because I feel like people hear that and they're like, that's just like that weird mumbo jumbo people are talking. It's like, no. And you know, I had this conversation with my boyfriend the other day. We were talking about just like manifestations and like, you know, positive affirmations. And I don't know how into like the whole like energy and stuff that you're into. But we were saying that like, you know, you speak these things out and, you know, everything is energy. Everything you put out is energy, and it has to either make its way back or, you know, find its way elsewhere. And it's like when you truly believe something and when you have like goals and you put the work towards it, and, you know, the so-called delusional ones, the ones that, you know, you're like, oh, like I have a six pack and you clearly don't have one. It's like, all those kinds of things that you speak out and you believe, like the universe has no choice but to match your energy and bring it towards you. You have
100%.
like, you're doing nothing but attracting it. And, you know, it starts with the self-belief. And I talk about this all the time on the podcast, and I feel like people think I'm like a broken record, but it's like believing yourself is the beginning, because you know, it's the same way that when it comes to the gym, like getting to the gym is the hardest part. Literally just saying like, I'm going to get this workout done, even though you feel like shit and you're tired, you're exhausted and you want to take a nap and you want to eat ice cream and you want to do all these things. It's just doing the work to get there first. Is so important. But I know we're like derailing because this isn't a fitness episode.
Right.
Like, you know,
right.
Like it's, you know, bringing it back. It's more of like believing that you can get better and believing that you can be the healthier version of yourself and one that you can love and accept. And that's, you know, same type of work, same type of, you know, delusional affirmations and same types of, you know, just belief.
You can still manifest. Like, I think what I've learned in like, even like my career or things that I've done, like manifestation is just you saying, of course, what you want. And then it's on you to put action towards it, right? A lot of the times people think like you can just manifest and it falls into your lap. That's called luck. And that's amazing, right? But when you manifest and then you put action behind it, then the universe says to you like, yeah, you're putting the energy out there, so I'm going to return the energy to you. So you can't just manifest and be like, I'm going to leave. I hope one day I lose 100 pounds. Like, it's not going to happen unless you're actually putting action towards it, but it will come to fruition.
Yep.
You know, so
100%. So onto the therapy bit. What did years of therapy teach you about loving yourself?
I think it was just like, it taught me that I've always been hard on myself. I've always been my biggest critic, and I've always put so much unbelievable pressure on myself, whether that was in school, in sports, with my body, at the gym. Like, I've always put so much pressure on myself, and it's okay to allow yourself time to breathe and also recognize it doesn't just happen overnight. And fitness or losing weight or body dysmorphia or whatever, it takes years. It takes years.
Yep.
You can go to the gym for 2 years and you can be like, why is my body not the same? Whatever. It takes years for your body to be able to transform the way that you want to look like in a healthy way. You can see extreme results, sure, right? And I see fitness creators on the internet or people being like, oh, you still look like that? Like, you clearly blah, 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 blah. Again, there are so many factors in a person's life that you cannot understand unless you were that person. So I think I learned that too through therapy. It wasn't like, okay, my journey might not look the same as yours, and that's okay. And I shouldn't beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
You know?
And what was the biggest gem that your therapist dropped throughout, you know, your journey?
My journey. That's a really good question. I think this one's not even with body, but like it was, I think I'm inherently also like a people pleaser to my core. And my therapist straight up said to me, she just said, do you think that everybody loves you? And I was like, she was like, 'cause I need to be the person to tell you that not everybody loves you. And I was like, oh shit.
That is a tough one.
It was a tough one. It was a tough one to hear, but like, I think it really put it into perspective for me that like, I'm not going to make every single person happy. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm not going to be, you know, like, I don't know. And that's why I've been so afraid of rejection. It's because like, I want everybody to love me. But that's just not reality, because there's always going to be somebody out there that isn't favorable of you. And that's a tough pill to swallow. But when you can swallow that pill, then you realize I don't actually care about that person
Yeah.
either. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know? Period.
Damn,
Yeah.
that did something to me when you said
Right.
it. Like I was
Right.
like, yeah, not
You
everyone
know?
loves me. Even the people that I consider friends, like it could be family
Right.
and everything, like they can be close to you, and it's like, maybe they don't love me, and
Exactly.
we've existed this long, and everything's been fine, and the world didn't end.
And you'll learn, but you will learn along. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Right. You learn, and I've had so many friends, and you obviously everything always evolves, but you can recognize in certain people that like you start recognizing what love looks like to you, and it is constantly evolving, and you constantly start just understanding what your worth is. And sometimes friendships fall to the wayside because you're like, oh no, that's not the type of love I want to receive. And that's okay. But
Yeah.
you're not going to give that to me.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work from here. So sorry, but
Oof.
I know.
Yeah, that one's very real.
Ooh.
I've been dealing with my select handful of people.
Right.
And to finally close this out, what do you think everything we talked about today says about the relationship between validation and self-worth?
Validation and self-worth. I think that we are all craving validation, regardless of which way you look at it, whether it's your body, whether it's posting on the internet, whether it is at your job. We're all looking for a dopamine hit because we want to feel worthy, and we want to feel worthy of somebody else's love and admiration. And I think that it's okay to want validation, to be able to like, you know, feel good about yourself. It gets to a point where if it's all that you're seeking out, and if you're seeking out validation when it comes to solely your body, sometimes that's hard for me to get behind, like certain creators that are only like flaunting it. I'm like, yes, you better work, but with what are you giving me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I go through your comments and it's just like, need. And I'm like, okay, so was your motive here that? Because that for me, I'm not going to be able to receive that, and I'm like not interested. But if like you have a POV, or if you're funny, or if you're like having conversations or whatever, like that's a form of validation that is sometimes healing. And I think that I was able to look at, even with my podcast, Good Children, like we would have really difficult conversations, and it was so extremely validating for people to comment and being like, thank you. Like this helped heal me. And in turn, that like gave me some self-worth and gave me and made me feel like, okay, me seeking out validation for being like, oh, was I a freak, or was I like, I felt like I was big or whatever. I was always putting the towel above my chest. Like people being like, no, that was me too. Like that felt amazing. And I think that's okay to seek out validation for self-worth. Just in moderation, in doses.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. The way you said it, I kind of see almost like a pie chart where I want to say like, we could say like 75% of your self-worth can just be from your own confidence and everything that you worked on for yourself. And then, you know, we'll give like a tiny 3% to like the validation that's just like hard eyes, need that, love you, all that whatever stuff. And then like all the other parts of it is like, you know, I've even had my own experiences with the podcast where I talk about something and they're like, oh my God, nobody ever talks about this. Like, thank you for speaking about this. Or like, you know, when somebody says you make me feel seen, or when someone said, like, I've said this before, my favorite compliment is like, you're so relatable. I'm like, yes. The last thing I want to be is out of touch. That's like my biggest thing. And when someone says that, I'm like, oh my God, like if I'm relatable, it means that like something connected with you. And if I'm able to connect with strangers over the internet, that's amazing. I think that that's so cool. I'm just being myself. And because my logic has always been, and this was some like advice I gave when I was in middle school, like my friends are weird. I had this one friend, she was just like, Erica, like I need a life coach and you're like so great. Can you be my life coach? And I was just like, sure. And like she had issues with just like, you know, her image and how she looked and all that stuff. And something that I told her, I was like, if one person compliments you, that's the equivalent to 1,000 people giving you that same compliment, because I was like, I have no doubt that, you know, there are however many billion people in this world, and that, you know, there isn't a single person who doesn't agree with them. So I was like, for every compliment you get, think of it as 1,000. And that was like some solid things. Like that was so profound for, 12-year-old me to say, because like I still follow that.
Right.
And my logic, even doing like content and all that, is that if I believe this thing, if I have this opinion, there are at least 1,000 other people who believe the same thing.
100%.
And that's, gotten me through and, just helped me be my most confident self. And for me to get it back in return and for people to comment and, validate that, it's like, okay, like my purpose, this is good. And then that helps build the other part of confidence. That's the one that comes from myself where, I'm pouring into myself again, where I'm like, okay, even though I got validated by these other people, like that's going to flow into like the rest of my year, the rest of my week, the rest of my month, whatever it is. And give me the fuel to love myself more and appreciate myself more.
Right.
So it all feeds into itself. And I think that, if you're saying that you've never wanted validation from anyone ever, you're lying. Like you've wanted it
100%.
from your parents, your friends, a loved one, or even from yourself. Like you're lacking validation from yourself. Like you still want to feel like you belong. It's a human thing and that's okay.
You don't got to go to crazy lengths to get that validation, but like it is okay to say that you want it. And it's also like to your point from before, like with content or anything, like it is all about releasing the fear of being perceived. When you're allowing yourself to not feel like or not care about how others perceive you, you are free. Like that is just like how it works. People crave authenticity. I will always be myself on the internet, or like I want to make people laugh. I also can be real. Like there's so many ways that you can free yourself from like whatever you're feeling. And I think that I really do commend podcasters or content creators or people who want it, because especially when they have a platform that they're building for good, like, and you're able to not give a flying fuck about what anybody else thinks, then you become successful. If you care, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works.
Well, that concludes our podcast. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I'm so grateful. This was amazing. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and give 5 stars if your viewing or listening platform allows for you to do so. I think that is all for us today. I will see you guys next week. I love you guys and bye.
Bye-bye.